as a woman in the workplace, and what you're doing is so dynamic, how do you find all these different initiatives in terms of women empowerment and, finding your voice and all? There is so much noise, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with what's happening. What is your take on all of this which is happening?
I think if you're a woman, that you probably need to find what calls to you. You don't have to. I think it's important to support all of the initiatives, but you maybe don't have to be an expert in them all.
Right.
You don't have to be the one following every single initiative steps. For me, finding my voice was sort of a big thing. And so that was actually something, because I love to listen. When other people talk, that's that psychology, I guess, that I like listening as people talk, and I like kind of taking apart what they're saying.
Right.
But I like to listen. I learn a lot listening, and people like to talk, so I tend to let them. However, one of the things that was, when I asked about, how do you find your voice? Because it's very natural for me to just listen. Right. I actually asked our previous CEO, who was a female, about this. It was an anonymous question in a forum where she was speaking. And she gave a fantastic answer. And I've kind of tried to keep this in mind. And one of the things she said was, you have to remember that you're there for a reason, and you owe it to them, to the rest of your team, to give your perspective, because you were hired because you have a perspective that they need, that they want. You're there to make whatever it is that you're doing better. And so you owe it to your team to speak up. And it's still a work in progress for me. Sure. I do naturally sit back and listen. But I'm trying to be a little more vocal about things. But I think when it comes to all of these initiatives, I think they're great, because each woman, we're not the same. We're not all going to struggle with the same things. Sure. And so, finding your voice, for me, that's the one that calls to me. But for someone else, it may be something completely different. And each woman is going to be, is going to face different challenges. And so the different initiatives will really call to each person differently. And I think from our male supporters, I think it's good to have an overall idea of everything, of what's going on, but you don't have to be an expert in them either. You can always, at that point, maybe that's when you sit back and listen. Listen to your female colleagues when they say, this is something that they're struggling with, and try to help them. And sometimes we get talked over a lot. Women get talked over a lot. And so maybe that's something that the male supporter, our allies need to kind of see and say, okay, hey, stop. They're trying to say something.
Sure.
Help them have a voice when they're clearly not given that moment. I think for me, when we're in a room, it's easier for the room to read when people are speaking. And I'm not going to say that anybody's speaking over each other for any reason or any disrespect. It could be, but I'm not going to, everyone's different.
Sure.
But I have noticed that in a virtual setting, it's very easy to get steamrolled when you're trying to speak up, because nope, that social cues, that physical cues that you see when someone's going to talk in a room, it's not there anymore, and it's very difficult.
It is.
So I also think it's important to remember, to kind of give some grace and not assume everyone is just coming at things from the worst possible perspective. But yeah, I really do believe that it's important to support whatever it is that another woman may need. Whatever initiative it is that she feels strongly about, I think it's really important to support that, even if that's not the initiative that necessarily calls to me particularly.